Hey guys, it's Skybird here, and I apologize if I'm scratching my eyes. They are burning today. I have very sensitive eyes. It's very unfortunate. That said, I did a little bit of testing yesterday. I got my new silicone in. I think I'm going to take some steps back when it comes to thinking the silicone is causing problems. So I was under the impression that the BB Dino specific silicone was causing issues when it came to cast decoloring after a certain amount of molds discoloring, turning darker. I am now of the belief it may have something to do with the acrylic. However, it feels like there's a threshold in masks. Parts like this, for example, I used acrylic paint to create this pigment here, and this has not darkened at all, but it's a fairly light application of the paint itself in the actual resin, so it's fairly translucent, which is fine for some things, but it's not the quality that I want. However, I've noticed that when I'm doing casts with more pigment in it, more acrylic in it, those are the ones that tend to darken. Acrylic paint in and of itself does darken as it dries, but that mostly has to do with when it's being painted onto something, so I did not know if it would apply here. And it doesn't seem to be an issue with the masks, the parts that are with just, a couple of drops of pigment. However, it seems like the more pigment I add in, the darker it becomes, which I know is really weird. So it's something I think I'll just have to play around with even more to kind of get a feel for how light I need to make it in comparison to what actually comes out. This mask came out really good, all things told, but it's still a little bit darker than I would like for Lego's Dark Turquoise. You can kind of see it there. But it's respectably close. I'm very happy with this run of casts, though. All 4 masks came out bubble free, which is very nice. So I'm super happy about that. That includes my brand new Huna mold. I just made one yesterday with this translucent silicone, and the reason I had originally switched to this is because I was having some cure inhibition issues with the BB Dino silicone against sulfur-free clay. So sulfur-free clay, silicone-friendly clay, is usually something you're going to want to use when casting silicone, because other types of clay with sulfur in it will inhibit the silicone from curing and may cause the silicone to just never cure at all. In theory, this clay, and it is a clay that other people have used, it seems like a fairly popular brand for doing stuff like this, but I would imagine maybe it's just with more mainline brands of silicone. I've read that other people have not had issues with like smooth-on silicone and things. But that is a rather hefty jump in terms of pricing there. This is a very approachable price when it comes to silicone. It's still rather expensive, but much cheaper than buying something, like I said, like Smooth On or something. And I got this on sale. It had more sizes. I really like it in general. So now I'm doing a different test to see if I can stop the cure inhibition. As I mentioned in a previous video, the very first mold I made was a Huna mold, and I mounted the Huna on a clay funnel. But this was my very first time working with this clay, and it's rather firm. It's a medium hardness clay from Chavant NSP. And so because it was firm, I used a hairdryer to heat it up, and that softens it. It kind of pulls the oils to, I don't know exactly what it does, but suffice to say, it softens the clay and makes it much more pliable. And that mold also did not have any issues when it came to inhibition. The original reason why I had softened the clay was not to make the funnels, but was to do a 2-part mold. Now that mold did have cure inhibition, but I think that may have been because of the mold release that I had used. So I can't know that for sure. But yeah, the leftover clay that I ended up using for the funnel did not, and that was the clay I heated. After that fact, I did not heat the clay more, because just to make a funnel, you don't really need to heat the clay. It is relatively hard, but for a funnel, something small like that, you basically just roll it in your hands and make it the shape you really need. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to do one test where I do clay heated with a blow dryer, just like I did with the first one. And then the second test, I'm going to do oven baking the clay. So I've got it in the oven now at 170 degrees. It's the lowest my oven goes, which is lower than I expected, so that's good at least. And I also read that when trying to cast resin 3D printed parts, that can cause silicone not to cure as well. But I've heard people baking that also, so I'm running a bake test on both. I'm not going to do it for like a terribly long time, but maybe 30 minutes to an hour, give or take, and we'll see just how they come out. But yeah, I am doing a bake on an unfinished, unsealed resin printed piece. It was not a piece that I made. I don't own a resin printer. But if that does end up working, then that's really good news in the future, because it means that I can work with resin printed parts. Technically, there are apparently some resin prints that are silicone safe, but they're extremely expensive, like several hundreds of dollars for like liters of it. So not something that I would want to do, not something I would expect other people to want to do. So I think in the future, I will stick with the bake method if it works. That said, something else I want to go ahead and mention too is if this is something that people have, if there's a lot of demand for this kind of stuff, then in the future I will probably invest in a type of 3D printer, whether it is resin print or filament print. I haven't decided yet. But I will see obviously what my results are with this, because I do make custom parts for myself in Blender, and so I would love to be able to print some of those pieces. I think the pieces I'm looking forward to printing the most are my Borax shields. I have a full set of 6 custom Borax shields, and a lot of people have really seemed to like them. I did decide to make the, I don't know if I've shown them in a video before, I should probably do that sometime, but the ice shield, the mosaic shield, and my water shield, which is called the storm shield. I made those a little bit more detailed than some of the other Borax shields that we have currently, mostly because Lego did make 12 Borax shields, so to have 1 or 2 that is more detailed, I think will at least help in the future. It gives you more options, right? So, but obviously I'll play around with them and see what I like, and they're still carrying over the aesthetic of Lego pieces, so they're not like crazy detailed or anything like that. I really like them, so I can speak for my own pieces, but yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I just want to go ahead and talk about that. I guess I'll talk real quick about the silicone as well before I end it, because why not? So this brand here, as mentioned, is the BB Dino brand. I should have brought a bottle of this in here because I cannot remember the name of it. It's like Change Takage. It's some Chinese brand, who knows? All I know is it's silicone. It does firm up the way you would expect. This one seems a little bit more precise in its cure, though. It seems like you have to measure it a little more precise. This one is a lot more forgiving. It's also softer. Notably, it said online it's like a 6 to 8 shore hardness, 6 to 8A shore hardness, and this is supposed to be a 10. When it comes to the pricing of these things, I don't know how accurate that is. I'm sure it's slightly off every single batch, whatever, but I can feel a difference between the two of these. I do like working with this one more, specifically with the book mold. It's just much easier to open up, but the difference is still pretty subtle, and this worked out well enough. It is translucent, but honestly, it kind of hazes over by the time it dries, so it's honestly rather hard to tell what is going on in here versus in here. It's similar. You can see it a little bit easier through this one, but yeah, especially yesterday when I poured the dark turquoise Huna, I could see kind of what I was doing, but when I pulled it out of the pressure pot this morning, it was very hazy and I could hardly see through it at all. So that probably has an effect too. Maybe the more times it goes into the pressure pot, it just kind of changes the structure. I don't know. This is all a learning experience for me, but I am very happy with the end results either way with these. This one I've still got to clean up. I do still have to clean up all of the others. I did run into an unfortunate issue with the RAW this time around, having a spot here where the funnel connects to the mask where the lighter pigment had separated out and collected. I don't know what caused that, but that's interesting. So yeah, definitely strange, because I do mix it thoroughly and I do make sure that everything in there. The only thing I can think of is that there's some separation that goes on in the pressure pot with that pressure change. And also, just with the side of the cup, if I'm pouring over the side, maybe there's a little touch of paint here or there that didn't get fully mixed in, that I didn't see, that ended up going in. But the only time I've seen that issue, I haven't seen it on anything else. Inevitably, when you resin cast, you're going to have some things that are a fail. It happens. There's really not much you can do about it, and that's okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So like I said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to support what I do here, my Patreon will be linked in the description below. As mentioned in a previous video, I do plan on doing some changes to that. So there will be an exclusive Discord channel in the server, as well as some exclusive content going on there as well. We're also about to hit 200 Rahi mocks, which is insane. We're at 199 now, just at 700 subscribers. And as always, my Discord link, Instagram links will be in the description below. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.